Okay, we're going to tear into the stator, the charging system here. We've got 8mm bolts all the way around. We've got a Phillips screws here, three screws here that we're going to pull this all off here with these 8mm. All right, you can take a rubber mallet, tap on it there, and then pull up on it. There will be some magnetic pull there because of the charging system. You've got some magnetic force behind there. Okay, and then we've got our shift shaft here that kind of holds you up so you can take and use your thumb and kind of push that shift shaft out, and that'll allow you to take and pull that stator off just like that. Got your wires to work under here, and they kind of go between the clutch arm there and that case. So got that pulled off there, and then behind your stator obviously you have your flywheel, and you got to have a special puller to remove that flywheel. So keep that in mind before you start in on this project. But there's our stator there. We've got our two pulsers here. We've got obviously our stator and coils here. We've got our wires coming out. Looks like if you pull this cover here with these three Phillips, you're going to be able to get to your flywheel here to at least turn this bolt. If you're trying to find top dead center, you can do that from this side here. Here we've got 17mm bolt to remove this. That's just regular threads. All right, we've got our puller here we'll run in. That's again just regular threads. Throw a socket on the end of it there. Take our impact, turn it in. What that does is just push against that crankshaft, and it'll actually pull that flywheel off of that crank there. Go ahead and spin our puller out because we're finished with that. And then there's our flywheel. This is the lower chain here that goes up to the sprocket that sits on your cylinder. We'll go ahead and remove that. We've got a 10mm to hold this guide in, a 10mm right here, which I'm not totally sure the purpose of that. And then we've got a guide right here that we can pull out as well. The tensioner for this guide here. All right, that guide is out of there. We pulled that out the bottom. This is for the front cylinder. We'll set it with these front cylinder parts there, along with this tensioner. There, we just take and pulled that chain around that crankshaft there. Now we should just be able to slide everything up the top there. All right, we've got our oil relief valve here. We've got a larger gear here that we'll remove. 17mm to pull this relief valve off. Got a 14mm bolt here to remove this gear. Okay, this bolt is actually reverse threaded, so keep that in mind when you're pulling it apart. It actually loosens the way that you would typically tighten it. So, kind of an unusual gear there. We've got a couple of dampers here, and this is for your balancer. And slide that off there. You've got your oil line that runs here, and then a handful of GIS bolts, screws to remove there. Go ahead and use an impact driver on these because they're typically a little more challenging. We got that oil line off there. There's our shift shaft here. We're actually not going to be able to pull it out all the way this way, but we do need to remove these snap rings here. Your starter on the bottom here, two 8mm bolts to remove that. Then you can just take your starter then, just wiggle it up like this, and it will just pull right out. It does have two O-rings that seal it going into your clutch cover side there. So you do want to make sure that it does have that O-ring there to seal it, so it sometimes is a little more challenging to pull off there. We got some dirt and debris that gets stuck down in there, but otherwise this starter is actually in really good shape. We've got our output gear here. We'll go ahead and pull that off. We've got 8mm bolts around the outside of this. We've removed a handful of them already. They're a little bit longer screws there, and you can just take and pull this off. This is your bevel gear, your output gear here, and you can see there the two gears, the two bevel gears that work together. Now you can actually take and shim these so that they fit together better, so they're a tighter fit. and I suggest you check that periodically to make sure that those are in good condition, not wearing too much. We've got our clutch rod going through here. That was that arm that I had taken off, and this goes all the way over to the clutch on the other side. Here's our high and low for our engine oil. This cover will pull off 8mm bolts around the outside. All right, lift that cover up. Underneath there, you've got your shift mechanisms. We've got a 10mm and another GIS there. All right, we've got a spring-loaded arm there. Put that aside. We've got a shift star here. We've got our shift star pulled off there. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this 10mm and this larger bolt here. 19mm, pull this bolt off of here. You can see it's dinged up there, and that is to keep that from spinning off while you're in use there. So I'm gonna set that aside. We're gonna have that pulled off there to split that case. Got our 2 snap rings here. Pull these off. All right, we'll remove that. Underneath here's your oil pump. We'll see that from the other side there. Got a handful of 8mm I'm gonna pull off now. A couple of 10s. All right, we've got 3 of the 14mm off there. We'll set these aside. We've got a drain plug here. I'm gonna pull that off. There's really no reason to for splitting the case, but just to have it off of there, I'm gonna do that now. 17mm drain there. He's got a spring in behind there. That spring is out. Now I'm actually gonna take and flip this motor to the other side. We'll work on the clutch assembly then.